It's not easy. You just got to click the go live and just do the thing. It's not easy. Folks, bear with me one moment here just to make sure this stream is going to go on. I swear I got the giggles right now, and it's coming from a pretty real place. It's like, if I'm not laughing and giggling about it, I'm crying. It's like, what a crazy world we are living in this fleshly experience. What a crazy time. Looks like our streams are good. Let's not mess around. Welcome to a muzzled chat. Yes, there is great darkness. There are great challenges. But with this comes our greatest opportunity for glory. After all, you, I, all of us were chosen to be right here, right now. And I hope today's episode helps us all seize to the best of our ability this very gift to have, if we so choose. Imagine you walk into a church Sunday morning, and before you leave the parking lot, someone thousands of miles away already knows you were there. And within hours, your phone starts feeding you messages crafted to shape your own beliefs, your own thoughts about another nation's war. Sounds far-fetched, right? It's not. Not at all. My mission today is to highlight the severity of this very threat and how it is nothing new. In fact, we think we are free people when we haven't been entirely free in our own minds for some time. I don't know what it is, folks. There's a lot we could connect into this very thought process, but it seems as too many of us, and this kind of what has me up in tears, like my heart's bleeding, was just a post I stumbled across before kicking this very episode off. But it was meant to be. It's thrown me off, but dare I say we are lacking the very ability to even properly acknowledge these threats. Oh, but once again, there's great glory. And it's more an individualized journey. I'm seeing more and more clearly that the overall design, the overall outcome, in a way, let it go, James. It's out of your control. It's out of your hands. There is more important things to focus on. So, today, we are peeling back the curtain on how foreign governments are targeting Americans, Christians, through digital ads, and why this should alarm every believer who values truth and free will and God's very gift of agency itself. So FARA is, in simple terms, supposed to be a transparent law forcing Americans who work for foreign governments to file their activity. And we're going to go into that government documentation that is showing this huge infringement of our privacy and really unveil what's its mission, and it's manipulative and it's deceitful, and where is the root of that? embedded into. It's evil. It's demonic. It's the devil himself. So this specific filing, Israel MFA Show Faith by Works LLC, says what it reveals in plain language, and I challenge you to sift through it. Screenshot, share, create your own posts, sound the alarm. If not to combat this level of infringement and this newer age war tactic, to at least help others gain the proper defenses to not fall prey to the manipulation and the deceit that is clearly running rampant and being pumped. For frick's sakes, X. There has been a shift on none other than X, who recently, other than Netanyahu, just made a speech in New York on American soil talking about how important it is to buy up TikTok. X influencers even went to as far as to threatening Americans that they're at war with this information, and they're to use the very essence of war, like the tools of war change over time, and alluded the swords and cavalry are no longer effective, that they're to use drones and things like that. So yes, I view that as a blatant threat to my mortal even existence from a foreign leader on American soil. And we're not absorbing it. I'm sitting here scratching my head like, what's going on? But since that speech, to see this definitive shift from X seemingly overnight from just everyone's feeds, and I could go through the countless individuals. Whoa, what is all this propaganda pumped into my feeds from accounts I've never followed, I've never even seen before? I don't know who these freaking people are, but it's all pro-Israel content and trying to manipulate the masses as to them being the victims and utilizing October 7th in the most horrific way. We've gone over all that, so we're not going to dive into that. But in lieu of the shift with TikTok and X, they're now going to these lengths. This is incredibly alarming. So what this states in plain language, and we'll kind of sift through it here in just a minute, it's a PR campaign using digital ads to target none other than Christians in America, communities in Western U.S. states, creating geofencing. Geofencing, it's like location-based targeting. It's kind of the meaning. In this case, are churches and educational campuses. They are able to set, if you could kind of imagine, a digital fence geographically, fencing and encompassing not just those who step foot in a church, but even pull in and out of the parking lot. Kid you not. We learned a lot about this after the whole Jan 6, right? They even went back in time, geofence through providers, Google Maps, things of that nature. And this can be utilized through many different apps on your phone. It's incredibly alarming, and even after the fact. And it only takes money to do it. Unbelievable. So, kind of a side note, is this even legal? How are our elected officials failing us so horrifically, allowing foreign countries to openly, even through this document, admit what they're doing? These elected officials have one job: to protect us from evil such as this. Regardless, this exposes how weak digital privacy protections are. And it's not just one nation. Any powerful group can buy influence through this method. Our personal data is being sold through ad networks by American companies to whoever pays. The real failure, our leaders haven't protected its own citizens' data or demanded transparency on who's funding the messages we see. Example, they no longer need tanks to breach our borders. They can rent space in our phones. Try to absorb that. Let's touch on a moral, spiritual angle. Ephesians 5:11. Have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them. We're trying to do that here. Help us do just that. John 8:32, quote, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free, end quote. Point is, manipulation and deceit are tools of the enemy, the devil himself. It's the only one to utilize tools such as this. God calls his people to discernment in truth. Let's not be hollow projections of believers. Let's fulfill what he calls us in this regard. If deception becomes normalized, even in advertising, we lose the moral foundation of freedom. Let's focus on empowerment over despair. Evil is gaining vast momentum. It's incredibly becoming darker and darker and darker, but how? And we could touch on so much of that. But how do we combat the darkness? I hope this episode, in a way, becomes a bright light, a candle. It's very easy, and it's important that we start lighting our own candles best we can before we're engulfed in this darkness, before we become comfortable in that darkness. It becomes harder to find a candle to light when the lights go out. So let's turn off ad tracking on our devices, limit ad permissions, support privacy laws, verify sources before sharing content. If anything I share here has legitimately be debunked or something, please bring it to my attention. I'm not perfect. I'm human. And it takes real men to admit they got something wrong. And I would gladly do that. There's a reason why our world leaders don't do this. They're empty, hollow projections. And that is clear. We've covered so many different angles. I get it's a hard pill to swallow. It's not a reality I want to be living in. But what is just believing the lie doesn't change the reality of it. So speak truth boldly without fear. We as one people could gain the most important seat at the table if we so choose. Share this very warning, not to just gain momentum on providing a solution, that's important, but to enable folks the gift of understanding so they can effectively even defend themselves. Okay, let's just get through some of the screen share. Oh, God. Maybe it's a good thing I left this screen up. Full transparency. Now, the podcast apps haven't picked up quite as much momentum as a whole. It seems, well, collectively it's adding up, but as Rumble is. And I want to share. So this was just this is a representation of the last day, downloads, this and this. But I want to go down to this map for just a moment. Here's a world map. Yeah, we're popping over to a whole bunch of different countries. But let's actually go into the U.S. here, folks. I gotta challenge my Arizonians. Okay, when I go hover over this, can you read that? There's been 66 downloads just over the last day here in Arizona to a muzzled chat. When we come over here to California, there's 80. Now, Californians, I applaud you. Fantastic. Great work. Keep it up. See if you could even gain the momentum to where Arizona can't compete. But my fellow Arizonians, where you at? We got to step it up. We going to allow California to beat out Arizona? Come on now. I mean, it's kind of fun to actually show all-time downloads, but actually come to the world map. And it's interesting. We have every state in the U.S. other than Wyoming and Montana. Montana, where you where you at? What are you doing? I'm sure there's some warriors there on the front lines, no doubt, and I applaud you. But step it up. It's collectively. Help me help you. How can I serve that state and Wyoming? Okay. They're both gorgeous states. I've been there. I know people there. And there's no views. I don't get it. Anyway, this is kind of fun because it's stepping off the real meat of today's episode. But I haven't been seeing the momentum I would hope for to have a more positive impact. And that does let me down. We all know there's crazy amount. I mean, dude, they're going to the extent of infringing on the privacy through our devices and manipulating us to that tactics, the easier things that they've already done, once again, through the major social media platforms, X, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. It's been so oppressive, so tyrannical. You could reflect back over the suppression during the scam pandemic, right? They really ramped it up. Medical misinformation, disinformation. Unbelievable. And they only promoted the lies and they suppressed the truth. And it led to great suffering. My heart goes out to everyone that's suffering due to that, and to you, my dear brothers and sisters that have lost loved ones. I've keep anonymity. I've lost someone close to me just this week. So it's an ongoing struggle. Not to doom and gloom and despair. To accept your gifts, your light from God Himself, and that we have more impact to push back on all that darkness. But anyway, it's cool to see. United States. Wow, how did Singapore jump up into second place over Canada? Canada, step it up. Then we got Netherlands, Australia, Thailand, Brazil, Russia, Mexico, the UK, Portugal, China, Nigeria, Spain, Romania, Germany, Switzerland, Japan, Sweden. I'm not going to list them all, but look at this. It's all thanks to you. So we might not have this vast, incredible impact here on a muzzled chat. And a muzzled chat was at birth doomed to be facing no growth. My gosh, you can't be a muzzle. You can't address that. That just says so much about the world we live in. What do you mean we can't? Well, just through the example, all the bans on YouTube and TikTok and suppression through Instagram and Facebook and X. Like Rumble is at least, I haven't noticed anything pulled down, but I have talked to some experts. They've walked through it and they are showing levels of suppression, algorithmic suppression and type of like shadow banning. What does that tell us? Well, I'm just grateful that this platform, at least to this day, is allowing seemingly us the ability for organic growth. So please help us grow it. We're doing something right in this dark, dark world. But it's up to us. Are we going to answer that call? Enough of all that. Here is, and you can see it right here. This is a .gov document. FARA. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly, but when we look at this, received registration 9/7, or excuse me, this is just last month, the 27th of last month, 2025. Who submitted this to the U.S. Department of Justice, Washington, D.C.? The name of registration, Show Faith by Works, LLC. Name of foreign principal, Israel Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Their address right here, and none other than Israel. Why is this country so obsessed with Christianity and having a certain level of impact here in America? All important questions. I'll let you go through this document for yourself, but let's just browse for a second. Look at all these churches. It's directly targeting in Arizona. Do these pastors and leaders of these churches, CEOs, whatever, they're like businesses now, corporations somehow getting a tax break. I don't get it. Just another means to control messaging in my eyes. But are they aware of this? Are they even aware? But to just go through this endless list from Arizona to Colorado to Nevada to Texas. Wow, lots of churches. Why are they targeting Texas so heavily? Utah, California. I mean, even certain branches of religion in this country from from the denominations, all Christian based. I think there's even some Baptist. This is alarming, folks. Incredibly. I have the links to these documents right here in the description of this episode. View them, check them out for yourself. And it's interesting. I believe our churches in this country have been subverted in the messaging for some time. And we're going to play a clip, and it seems like a Bill Gates character. I don't know. It doesn't. There's a lot. I don't know if you've heard about this FunVax eye-opening clip. It dates back to 2005. But it's essentially, to sum up, a presentation by an individual supposedly to our CIA talking about radical religious belief, as though belief in God is a human character flaw. But they could address that through gene manipulation, through, no joke, viruses, vaccination, health services, things to that nature. But there's a lot of criticism regarding this footage. I'll let you, I can't say definitively. What I can say is that and the way it's built out doesn't speak to me as though it's some film set, right? At all. When I honestly look at it, it's just so raw and not even that easy to watch because it's like some boring conference presentation. But look at what played out thereafter with the scam pandemic. And we'll play Bill Gates and how he talks about world population as an issue. And as we've played ad nauseum on this very podcast many, many, many times, and we're not done playing it yet, because he stated what in a 2007 TED Talk, essentially, that we can address this world population issue. If we do a really good job through health services and vaccinations, we can lower the world population by 10 or 15%. What does that tell you? And then looking at the cover up and all the suppression of truth and boasting safe and effective, but not even in the very inserts of those shots, intentionally left blank, not even giving us proper consent just do your part. And they went through every torturous tactic they could of manipulation, from applauding, incentivization to get it, you're a good person, don't you, and then preying on your heart, don't you care about grandma? Every tactic in the book. Tyrannical, from our jobs, from our military positions, everything. So anyway, this kind of encapsulates something before we watch the video. So we'll just read this. Those who are fighting for truth are willing to put themselves, their families, and everything they love on the line for you. We spent countless hours. Some of us, our life is spent digging, searching, sorting, evaluating, and praying over the information. We make mistakes sometimes. That's refreshing. That's something you don't hear from our world leaders at all. At all. Tells us so much. But we are out here trying our best to serve truth and the true and living God. If you don't agree with us, no problem. Go your way. But you will never be able to say that we did not try to warn you. Many of the folks who have made truth available to us have been imprisoned, tormented, tortured, and or murdered. Most of them you haven't even heard of and may never even know what they provided to the truth movement. Nevertheless, their sacrifice is a precious gift to the world. I, for one, greatly appreciate all those who have gone before and all those who continue in this battle for the souls of men. Wow. So take from this what you will, but let's view this. Maybe I will just speed it up slightly. It's on normal. Let's jump it up to 2.5. And it is labeled as Bill Gates briefing. The fact of the matter is, on this, there's so much in the links provided below. There's so much amazing information in here that really walks through and does a bunch of deep dive into this fun vax, where it really originated from. So you can do that, or you could simply just hear it and see with your own eyes what is played out. Irregardless whether this is valid or not, the answers, the solutions, the oppression, everything, like it's all clear. So are we going to continue the lies, or we really going to seek the true and one and only solutions at our disposal?
Here we have individuals who are religious fundamentalists, religious fanatics, and this is the expression, RT-PCR, real-time PCR expression of the VMAT2 gene. Over here we have individuals. So let me complete. So over here we have individuals who are not particularly fundamentalist, not particularly religious, and you can see there's a much reduced expression of this particular gene, the VMAT2 gene. Another evidence that supports our hypothesis for the development of this approach.
What you see here is by spreading this virus, we're going to eliminate individuals from donning on a bomb vest and going into a market and blowing up the market.
So our hypothesis is that these are fanatical people, that they have overexpression of the VMAT2 gene, and that by vaccinating them against this, we'll eliminate this behavior. So we have.
Did you catch that? So through viruses, and then for their solution of vaccinations, they can address this gene, and they're viewing it as religious radicalized individuals. Interesting.
Very, very remarkable data in this next slide. Here we have two brain scans. These are fMRIs. These are two different individuals with different levels of expression of VMAT2. On top is an individual who's a religious fanatic, an individual, and we've repeated this numerous times, that has high levels of VMAT2. Now, this individual down here who had low levels of the VMAT2 gene, this individual would self-describe as not particularly religious. In each case, these individuals were read a religious text. This individual lit up the right middle frontal gyrus, shown here, and that's a part of the brain that's associated with theory of mind. It's a part of the brain that has to do with intents and beliefs and desires. In marked contrast, here's an individual who would not particularly self-describe as religious, and when they're read a religious text, what you see is that this part of the brain called the anterior insula lights up. This is a part of the brain that's associated with disgust or displeasure on hearing something.
So you're suggesting I take a CT scan with me when I'm evaluating people to determine whether I put a bullet in their head?
So the data that I'm presenting here supports the concept that we're proposing, and I think that we would not propose to do CT scans or fMRIs on individuals out in the hinterlands of Afghanistan. The virus would immunize against this VMAT2 gene, and that would have the effect that you see here, which is it's essentially to turn a fanatic into a normal person. And we think that will have major effects in the Middle East.
How would you suggest that this is going to be dispersed? Show us all.
Well, so the present plan.
Okay, I know it's boring and it seems like I'm losing folks, so we'll just stop it there. You can finish watching this on your own accord. Once again, the link's provided below. Now, why go here, right? Well, these tactics are nothing new. Once again, yes, with man, of course, evil's using man to wars that do threaten our mortal existence, right? But the root of this battle isn't of the flesh as depicted in the very Bible. It's a spiritual battle. And it's like a death by a million cuts at this point, it feels, with the lack of acknowledging and showing up proper to like a proper response to all these things that continuously play out. I believe that is proof as to how we've mentally been diminished and spiritually been diminished. However, there's promises in the Bible from God that he won't allow the devil to come between the relation with him. So above all, I believe that, my friends, is the very solution we ought to seek. And I'm kind of viewing it, and I got to brush up on this kind of lens and view or analogy on things. And I'm sure there's way more complex layers to it, but just to kind of humor the thought, I believe throughout this life, there's a lot of doors that end up open to our physical detriment and our spiritual detriment that it's hard to acknowledge we're opening them. And it might be something as simple as lustful desires and pornography, things of that nature, right? Easier to acknowledge, but there's, I believe, even deception on God's word, the Bible itself. That's why it's so important. We're to fervently seek those truths and understanding on a personal level, more so than any pastor or church. And that's the only way to really acknowledge, let's say, these doors that have been open, spiritual entities, essentially, that have been attaching themselves. And there's even a recent situation I had with someone really close to me. I'll touch on this more futuristically, but it just really shocked me to my core that we had so much love for one another and respect that even posing a certain question brought this tension. And it wasn't just a mortal tension that we could pin on, oh, this is your doing or this is your doing. No. The only proper explanation was there was another entity making its presence known. And the fruit of that was entirely destructive. So even though I view this individual as achieving a spiritual closeness to our Creator that most of us would be blessed to even get to that level, there's still doors open to these entities. Once again, me and him in this situation are both here. We haven't been exalted like Enoch or Esther, I believe, yeah, or the other biblical examples. So we haven't fully entirely got it here. So to look inwardly and really seek, what was that? How do I close that door? I don't ever want that to be known, and at least acknowledge it to the point when it does make itself known, we can at least shift gears, acknowledge it, cast it out, and get back to seeing as God sees one another in these moments. It's too woo-woo, our civilization, to even be bringing in these concepts. Like, it's really this real of a spiritual battlefield playing out before us. But it is exactly that. So I'm grateful for all these examples. So we're touching on this because irregardless, film or not, people were considering this type of thing, this type of like, why you think for a second the devil wouldn't go to these tactics, diminishing, whether it's through parasites, biological warfare, anything to diminish our spiritual connection to God? We're running around in our civilization today like a bunch of rats in the maze, rarely truly seeking. We are more, and I have been more absorbed in this life than in the mortal experience than truly seeking him fervently above all else. We like to think we are, we like to say we are, but in fact, are we really? Because if we're really not, like, we're kind of to our own detriment, and it's getting really bad. So I do believe the devil has made it harder to acknowledge and focus more so on the spiritual side of it. What isn't disputable is this very clip of none other than Bill Gates. Anyway, let's go ahead and play this for the millionth time. And we just got started playing it.
The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Well, common sense would tell you,
I love
if
this
you
guy.
have a man standing in front of you saying he's going to reduce the world's population by 10 or 15% using vaccines, what does that mean to you? It means somebody's going to die because you put a vaccine in them. It doesn't mean you're going to save people. That's pretty much common sense in my brain. But yet I saw him say it.
He said it. So yeah, our mortal existences are obviously threatened by a great and powerful synagogue of Satan. I don't know how else to sum it up. The momentum, the sheer momentum that evil has gained in our time, like, we can't even fathom and fully absorb it because clearly we haven't presented proper solutions to any of it at all. But they're going clearly going willing to go to these lengths. What does that tell us on the spiritual side of it? Now bringing in a foreign, the chosen people, Israel, though it's a biblical Israel, attacking. And it is attack because it's through manipulation and deceit. Good would not go to those measures. So it's clearly evil. It is. So, and that's what we know of. There's so many other spiritual attacks that have been taking place throughout our lives. And I believe it's just hindering the closeness we could experience walking with our loving Creator. So the more we even maybe hone in on that analogy of what doors do I have open that need closing that would benefit me, and what doors have I not sought out and opening that would benefit me. And if you got a better analogy, man, kind of really addressing all the different layers to that, I would love to hear. I would love to have that open discussion with you, maybe even consider it on a live episode, because the time is now, folks. Like, it's now. And it's not even rapidly approaching in the sense the end of the world, second coming. Like, it's rapidly approaching in the sense I believe it is becoming so dark, it's just going to be that much harder to light candles. When the lights go out, it's going to be so much harder than lighting them now and building out all the ones you need, kind of that reservoir, right? That faith to make it through a real dark time without having to make more candles in the darkness, aka spending that time trying to rebuild faith. If that makes any sense. This clip right here is what got me entirely disheartened before this episode, and it is truly unbelievable in 2025 that this is still taking place. My brothers and sisters, check this out. Long line.
This is everyone queuing for the COVID vaccine.
What? These poor souls. Unbelievable. Breaks my heart. So whether or not evil has effectively ruled out the genes in this character flaw of belief in God or not, irrelevant. Fact, the patents behind this very shot are none other than evil. Why is there 666 Luciferian race tied into the patents, the very patents behind this? Among so many other things, fetal tissue, harmful things, the list goes on and on. But you got to be kidding me, right? My heart does bleed watching this. We have failed our loved ones. We have failed our neighbors, God's children. This has been deemed a bioweapon from so many of our experts. And this is proof to me that we will not fix anything in this life individually, that it's completely, entirely out of our hands. But if we seek God, and it is a moment of we must seek our loving Creator like never before, and with and through Him and His blessing, we will see a better day. It's promised. Now, whether it's in this life or the next, also quite irrelevant. But those promises are everlasting. You know what? We're not even going to dive into that. I mean, he threatened. So this is the root of all of this, is spiritual warfare. So I just challenge more to dive into the Bible itself. Let's just queue up. Why not this? Or this. Go over some of the notes. I don't know how much I'm going to dive through in this moment, but regarding this FARA, let's just take a second to ponder and acknowledge something here. Would good people, governments, rulers, etc., go to these lengths of manipulation at all? It's a very simple no. Only evil would use these tactics, period. Truly tells us so much if we really unpack that. But what, humor this thought, what other kinds of access could this be giving a foreign power? Obviously, all our personal info. Like, this is given. Your name, your address, your phone number, tracking abilities. That's given. Couldn't this extend to accounts, sign-ins, businesses, blackmail material, or even worse? I believe at a minimum, this allows them to build out a list of their enemies, ones that won't cave nor support the very, very evil actions they've been engaged in. Yeah, after all, this is coming from a country that used terrorist acts of blowing up pagers, injuring thousands of civilians, murdering children, a 9-year-old girl. Netanyahu said himself to the world, if you have a cell phone, you are holding a piece of Israel right there. Let me pull that up. Uh-oh. What happened to my screen share? I guess I canceled out of it. Bear with me. He stated it right here. Give this a listen.
But do you have cell phones? You have cell phones here? No. You're holding a piece of Israel right there. You know that?
Now I get it. What was his intent? Now, it could simply be that he was trying to boast to the world, hey, Israel matters. We're important. We are providing something to the world, because their GDP is insignificant. Their landmass is insignificant. And I don't mean to be belittling anybody, but traditionally, like the UK is and has been our greatest ally. As a nation, they actually have a significant landmass and people and natural resource. So it doesn't even make sense. But I digress. To get to this point, it could have meant that he was just being boastful in that regard. We matter. It could also be a direct threat. Who really cares as to what he really meant? This is clearly not a risk our country, none of us, should be willing to take, period. We must gain proper protections from the synagogue of Satan, full stop. Think about this for a second. How harmful frequencies on these devices have proven. And they've proven very damning. And we've gone over all that. If you want, and we're going to go over more of that in the future. God willing, I'm still able to continue to show up. But we've gone over that, and some of it to touch on, it's like leading to memory issues, headaches, dizziness. This is proven, folks. Tremors, depression, sleep issues, just to list a few. Are we going to allow a foreign country to gain any level of access to our personal devices at all? We've brought the receipts on these threats before. For example, most are unaware that these devices actually put out higher microwave frequencies than our microwaves themselves. I got the meter, and I've had many others with meters test it and verify it on their ends, and because theirs are higher end than mine. Very low budget over here, I'll admit. But we don't even consider if that's putting out a higher microwave frequency than our devices, and no parent would let their child stand in front of the microwave, right? It's like, why are we not acknowledging how we're using them even at a worse level than a microwave basically is a pillow at night? Just the point is, couldn't that very device give foreign entity a greater ability of ramping up that very method, right, to our detriment? This isn't a call to paranoia. You know what? We could even pull up. I'll let you research. But I even have a few screenshots I could have pulled up. In fact, I believe I put the link below in regards to how damning some of those devices actually are. But once again, we cover it in more depth. Just scroll through the list. You'll see 5G or something along those lines, and we sound the alarm pretty powerfully. But this isn't a call to paranoia. It's a call to wakefulness. Truth doesn't need manipulation. Truth stands on its own. We are in a new kind of war. Not one fought with bullets, but, to an extent, but with ideas and data. The only way to win is to guard our minds, demand truth, and refuse to be manipulated. Let's try our best to stay constructive rather than letting this only feed anger channel into protections and light. Demand transparency laws for online influence, foreign and domestic alike. Let's educate others about how targeted ads and algorithms work so people can recognize manipulation when it's attempted. Strengthen discernment both digitally, our own fact checking, context checking, and spiritually through prayer, scripture, and wisdom. Support open, truthful communication. Seek sources that reveal motives, funding, and verifiable facts. Remember that manipulation through deceit is poisonous. The antidote is truth, transparency, and discernment. Those are the same values that protect both our freedoms and the human soul. Now, I know this is pretty repetitive. We will cue that up another time. I encourage you all, I said that funny. I encourage you all to share this episode. And for whoever you do, to join in spreading that awareness. We're going to switch up the tune because let's just rip the muzzle off for a second, shall we? Let's do it. I gotta ask, folks, at this point, have we lost too much function to even care? It seems to be the truth, a hard truth to consider. How dare I even? But it's a very valid question. There is a solution, a cure. The only one left, in my eyes, it's through our loving Creator God. He has promised He will not allow Satan to come between us. Our experience and what are we doing? Evil has come up with very powerful ways to make this harder. For example, the very manipulative, deceitful tactics covered in this very episode. But we keep accepting the unacceptable and excuse ourselves with this incredibly weak stance of what difference can I make? Oh, I'm focusing on these other important things. At what cost? Possibly our salvation. Possibly the very purpose we're here visiting here. Where is our faith? Where has been my faith? I'm guilty. I'm not standing on some pedestal trying to preach. These are new realizations as I've spent the last few days diving more and more. I can't wait to wrap this up to actually dive more into the everlasting word. showing up with all my human flaws. But I challenge you to do the same. Because this is what matters. This is why we're here. Why hit it home from like this angle? It seems clear to me as if this is it. The time has come to make your choice. The time is now. Not to right the ship, but to choose. There is no gray area. There's no fence riding. Bible makes it clear where we'll land. Do you choose good or evil? Do you choose God or Satan? And not be deceived of Satan's work as God. If we choose good, God, then we really must accept all that truly means. How do we even properly discern good from foe? Too many of us believe we are following God, yet have not developed this tool well enough to decipher in the many ways to understand the core of the nature of what, in fact, we are worshiping. And we actually devote our life to the Bible and seeking that relation with God above all else this world has to offer. Yeah, I even see the frustration in my notes. Like, gosh dang it. I really could break down this document we went over in a very powerful way. But would it even matter? Probably not. How will this even be absorbed? Because for frick's sakes, evil just came after all of us. You and your loved ones tried to murder them with safe and effective bioweapons. And they're still effectively rolling them out today. Yet that was not properly absorbed. How would this make any difference? Fact is, our own generation's history tells us we will continually sit back and accept the unacceptable. Prove to me otherwise. I would love to see the proper shifts, but I see evil gaining more and more tyrannical, oppressive measures that leaves less of a clear path. And we continuously aren't responding properly, organically, to push back on that darkness. So it just shows the most important thing to find in this moment, in this incredibly dark time, is none other than God himself and our loving creator God, not the one masquerading. Evil has been too damn effective, making things look bright as though we do not live in a wartime. But there, my friends, lies the real danger. We know this battle is not of the flesh, and our spirits are suffering. We like to think we are godly people, but no one seems to be willing to really live for God, die for God. Look at the apostles into their dying breaths. Would we? Could we? Many may speak about God to folks they are comfortable with, but like Peter, denied God, Christ, many times throughout their days. Think about that. Why are we only Sunday spectators? So too many of us. How have I not acknowledged? Why did it take me 41 years to gain this level of faith or understanding, and I feel like a baby with it? I'm nowhere near. That's why the thirst is so great. We are all visitors in this experience of the flesh. We would do better to remember just that. If this episode offended you versus seeing how it could serve those in need, then just know I'll be praying for the offended to gain strength, clarity. The intent was missed. It isn't incredibly hard. I read that wrong. It is incredibly hard to appeal to the masses. Very hard. What one person needs to hear, the other, meh, I'm offended. But I've been in that weak stance, and I've understood that, my gosh, there is that saying, you could have some of the worst things ever has come of like good intent. So the prayer, I'm constantly seeking refinement, and that I could do better in just that, and appeal better to the masses and not be triggering in that regard. All the answers come through seeking. This also does show us how many doors we still have open to bad spirits that are making us weak. It is time to do the self-work to close those doors of destruction and open more of the ones that lead to salvation. Here's some challenges. We're going to go over discernment and discipline. And discernment, we need to refine that tool. And I pray that these biblical references will help with that. We have Acts 17:11. The Bible will help you discern bad teachings. 1 Corinthians 12:10. God grants discernment. Hebrews 5:14. Discern between right and wrong behavior. And then James 1:5. Ask God for help in discerning his will. Can't wait to dive into them again myself. Discipline. Punishment is a consequence of sinful actions. Genesis 3:16 through 19. God's punishment does not change his love for us. Psalm 89:32-33. Wow, to understand the heart of God. My heart bleeds in these moments. Like, how are you doing it, God? I don't get it. I don't get it. The fact he's still there as our greatest champion tells us we'll never understand it in this mortal existence, and therefore he is worthy of whatever sacrifice we could make in this life. The Lord's disciples, those he loves. Proverbs 3:11-12. Parents are responsible to discipline their children. Proverbs 13:24. How many of us get that right? How many of us, under trying to get that right, get it wrong? Punishment for sin may be swift and severe. Acts 5:1-11. Paul commanded punishment for blatant sin in the church. 1 Corinthians 5:1-5. Punishment should lead to repentance. 2 Corinthians 7:8-9. Sometimes God punishes us to bring us back to himself. Hebrews 12:5-11. Keep this open. I am so flawed. Forgive me. I know there's hypocrisy right here on my face, just stamped right there on my forehead. I'm trying. That's what we're here to do. I love you all. Thank you, warriors. Appreciate you all so much. Until next time, with much love, God bless. Take care.